everyone and welcome to a brand new video. I'm very happy today because I'm back with another mysterious case. Once you requested a lot. When I wrote the comment, I got more than 8,000 likes. So I said, okay, let's do it. This is going to be kind of a long video because the story is somewhat long. So hang tight because there are so many details. But I'm truly happy to do this case because literally I felt like a super detective while doing the research. But before I start, don't forget to follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts. Subscribe and activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload any video. Sit, grab some popcorn or soda or whatever you want because we're going to be here for a while, so let's begin. The mysterious case of Madeleine McCann. As always, let's start talking about this girl's story, who was Madeleine McCann, and who were the people that were around her during her disappearance. Madeleine Beth McCann was born on May 12, 2003, in Leicester, England. She is the oldest daughter of 3 children. Her mother's name is Kate McCann, and her father is Gary McCann. Besides, she had 2 twin siblings called Sean and Emily. One remarkable trait that Madeleine had was that she had a coloboma in her eye. It is said that this is like a fracture of the iris, therefore she had a small line that goes down her pupil. On the other hand, her mother graduated in 1992 from the University of Dundee. She worked for some time as an anesthesiologist and in the end she just worked as a general doctor. The father, since 2005, was a consultant for cardiology at the Glenfield Hospital. Therefore, as I've said, he's a doctor. Both of them were doctors. And now, let's talk about the events, which is the longest part of the video. Praia da Luz is a small town in the south of Portugal, and it's a very touristic place. They call it like Little Britain, which would be like a small England or Great Britain, because many British people go there to spend their vacations. The McCann family arrived at Portugal on April 28, 2007, for their vacation with another 3 families. They were all friends of theirs, all couples with their children. On the second to last date of their vacation, the kids spent the morning at the Kids Club resort from the hotel, which is practically like a sort of daycare for kids where the parents can leave them while they do some other things. Around noon, the family had lunch and the mother took the one that's known as Madeleine's last photograph. After lunch, the kids went back to the club and around 6 in the afternoon, the mom went back for them and took them to the apartment. In that moment, Madeleine's father was playing at the tennis court, and around 7 p.m., the mother decides to put the girls to bed so they could sleep. Madeleine fell asleep wearing short-sleeved pajamas, which were pink and white. She was also next to her blanket and also her favorite toy, Cuddle Cat. The parent did something during all the vacation, which was that they reserved a small place very close to the apartment they were staying in, like 55 meters away. And what they did was, every day around 8:30 p.m., they came down to have dinner with older friends who also left their kids in the apartment complex. It's worth saying that older friends were also staying in the same apartment complex. Some were staying at the 5C, others at the 5D, and Madeleine and her family were staying at the 5A. However, this was a perfect location for them to be, for they had a clear visibility of the apartments. The apartments could be seen from there, but the doors couldn't. However, they decided to leave the doors, all the doors closed, especially the ones that led to the yards but unlocked. Namely, everyone could get in and out. That night they went out for dinner. They stayed there for a while and taking turns each other's half an hour. One person from the families went to check on the children to see if they were fine, if they were crying or anything. Madeleine's father did his first round to check on them at around 9:05 and he found that everything was just fine. However, he said that he remembered leaving the kids' door ajar, but in that moment it was completely open. However, he decided to leave it ajar again and went back to the restaurant. Now, around midnight, after some rounds, Madeleine's mother decided to go and check up on them. When she arrived, she realized that Madeleine was not in her bed. Just her blanket and her plushie were there, but Madeline wasn't. The twins were also there. She ran back to the restaurant extremely alarmed and said, "Madeline is gone. Someone has taken her." Immediately, the father started looking for her everywhere. He went to the apartment, checked the room, the bed, the closets, everything. He asked the neighbors, went to the pool, looked around the bushes. He turned everything upside down. However, he didn't find anything. His wife was desperately crying because she was very worried for her daughter was missing. After alerting the police, they arrived somewhat late. Madeline's mother told them that when she went to check up on her daughter, the doors and windows were completely wide open. That night, there was a huge security search. They looked for the girl everywhere and even bought some dogs, but they couldn't find her. These were the main events. Now I'm going to tell you why probably this case hasn't been solved yet. So it happens that many people say that there were many mistakes during the golden hours, which are the most important hours, as you know, that happen right after something like this occurs. These are very important hours, practically the first 24 to 48 hours, in which they have to gather all the possible information to solve this type of cases. It is said that the first mistake was that for many hours, the police didn't get Madeline's physical description, and therefore they couldn't go door to door and search the other apartments. Besides, they didn't block the city on the roads immediately, but 10 hours later. Namely, the person who kidnapped her, who took her, could have escaped without a problem. Even Aeroscrut, which was the company that managed the cameras from the highways and the hotel, they say they weren't contacted to request information. And in general, it took the Interpol 5 days to release a global alert. They also say that they didn't interview people or the neighbors. At the crime scene wasn't secure either. This means that when they collected the DNA samples, they couldn't identify the person, for around 20 people had gone in and out of the room since the disappearance of Madeline happened. It is said that the day after this happened, a policeman put the tape to signal that no one could get into the apartment, but he didn't secure the doors or anything. On that same line, one of the files from the expedient say that the apartment had only been closed for a month, and later it was open to any tourist. Then, around August of that same year, namely 2007, they closed it again to gather more evidence. Besides, a crowd gathered in front of the apartment during those days to gossip about what had happened, and they stepped on all the potential evidence that the place could have had. For it could be the spot the kidnapper used to get in, which was near the window the mother said that she found open. Also, an officer's got in to take some fingerprints from the room doors, and he didn't even get gloves. I mean, what kind of investigation forensic we have? But anyway, let's talk about how the interesting part of this case, which is when I show you the evidence about who could have been the culprit or what could have happened. As a first theory, we have that she, namely Madeline herself, was the author of her disappearance, so to speak. It was said that the girl probably had gone out during the night looking for her parents and she got lost. She fell in some hole, went the wrong way, and ended up being missing. It was said that on May 3rd, namely one day before her disappearance during breakfast, she asked her mom why she hadn't gone to see them when her brother was crying last night. The mother said that she worried about that, for she said that probably someone had gone into the room, scared them, and made them cry. But if that happened to me, I would never leave them alone again. But anyways, this is really the first theory and is the one I less believe in, but they say that she probably went out alone and crying that night she got lost. The second theory talks about a pedophile. A man that told the police that around 9:15 he had noticed a man walking around the hotel holding a child in his arms. He said that this was close to their apartment and he saw him, but say like, no, I don't know who that might be, so he didn't thought much about that. He said that the man was heading towards an apartment of one Robert Murat, who lived very close from there, but we'll talk about him later. Other people say that without knowing, Madeline's parents had become friends with a very dangerous pedophile during their vacation. They remember a man called Clement Freud, which was a former TV host and also a British politician. He was a man that after many years was exposed by the media as a pedophile. It is said that this man invited them to his house right after the girl was kidnapped, and the man's house was very close to where the hotel was. However, the police were never able to prove anything regarding this. On the other hand, a married couple last named Smith say that around 10 p.m. they saw another man. I meant not the same one I just told you about, but another one. He was 400 meters away from the McCann's apartment, and he was carrying a girl of around 3 or 4 years, blonde hair, and who wore the same pajamas as Madeline. They say that he looked somewhat uncomfortable and he was carrying her and walking fast. They describe him as a blonde man with white skin of about 175 and 180 meters of height, of around 30 years of age, and they say he didn't look like a tourist. After the description, there were the images created by the forensics teams in charge of creating portraits according to the witnesses' descriptions. However, this person was never found. They say that the man who probably took her was a part of a pedophile network, which also did human and children trafficking, whether it be for adoption or sexual abuse. I don't know if you knew, but there are many of these dangerous networks around the world kidnapping kids to send them to other countries for someone to adopt them there after paying a lot of money, or to introduce them to a sexual trafficking network, which is basically child pornography and sexual abuse, among many other things. I think this could make sense. It could have happened. Or I think that if the girl had been really murdered, they would have found her body or something already. But nothing has been found. Absolutely anything. The third suspect is the man I mentioned earlier, Robert Muret. There's something I didn't tell you, and it is that the McCann and their friends had a nickname, which was the Tapas 7, because they always ate tapas and they were 7 of them. After this explanation, it was said that the Tapas 7 members say that they had seen this man, Robert Muret, very close to the apartment after the girl's disappearance. This was also said by the nanny from the Ocean Club and 2 British tourists around there. They realized that Robert Muret lived just 80 meters apart from the McCann's apartment, and then is when he began to be a suspect for the police. However, what ended up confirming the police suspicions regarding this man was the fact that he was too interested in being part of the case, in helping the family and speaking to the police at every chance. In the beginning, it is said that he offered himself as a Portuguese to English translator for the McCann family, but then he started introducing himself as the McCann spoken person before the media. The police found this very odd because it was very unusual for someone outside of the family, because he was practically a stranger to them, to be so interested in the case. However, he said that it was because he had a daughter and he understood what the parents could be feeling. So he was worried and blah blah blah. However, a year later, all the suspicions about him were removed because the police did hundreds of investigations in his house. They brought dogs, they took fingerprints, and they didn't find absolutely anything. There wasn't evidence to implicate him. However, sometime later, he sued the state and said they had to report him for defamation. So he ended up winning the lawsuit, and they gave him 715,000 euros as a compensation for this. The fourth possible theory, it's a failed robbery. One of the forensics people that was on the scene thinks that what probably happened was a failed robbery. Namely, the thief tried to break into the apartment to steal some of the things they had, because if you didn't know, they had a lot of money, and the girl, Madeline, noticed that this man had entered, so she started crying, started screaming, and the man took her to make her stop. This forensic person explained that some 17 days before, there had been another robbery at the apartment 5L, and also another robbery attempt at 5G. Besides, as with Madeline's case, in these 2 cases, the windows had been left wide open, just as in Madeline's case. These are some of the more renowned theories, but nothing has been really proved. And as always in these cases, the last suspects are the parents. The investigation hadn't focused on the parents, they hadn't been deemed suspects, but it happened sometime later. This happened because the police decided to bring some dogs, one smelled blood and the other smelled cadavers, to the apartment again. The blood dog found a smell of the blood precisely just below Madeline's bed, which alerted them. And then the parents rented a car 2 weeks after their daughter's disappearance. The dog that smelled cadavers smelled something in the trunk of that car. That's when they thought for the first time that the girl had probably been murdered, but why would the parents kill her daughter? Well, accordingly to what they said or what people suspect, they say that what the parents did was sedate their children for them to sleep and not get up in the middle of the night, so they could have a dinner in peace, but they miscalculated the dose and killed the girl. Or maybe she got dizzy, she suffered an overdose, she fell and died. That's why they decided to hide her and do many things to prevent someone from finding her. It is even said that maybe they threw her to the ocean. They started to be interrogated, for they were never able to explain why were those biological remains in the apartment and the smell in the car, and they kept questioning them for a long time. 3 days later, they left Portugal, decided to go back to England, and bought a new apartment to live an easy life with their twins. By the year of 2008, they decided to file the case because there wasn't enough evidence against them. In those days, they decided to create a web to help people who were going through similar cases of disappearance, and at the same time to try to find their daughter. They even partnered with several influential people such as Beckham or J.K. Rowling to divulge the information everywhere and to be able to find her. However, it's a little suspicious that due to the creation of this foundation to help people, they gathered more than 1.5 million euros and used that to finish paying the mortgage of their new mansion. It's odd. Also, a police officer who was at the crime scene during those days, called Goncalo Amaral, said that the girl had been murdered and that the police had been a complicit party by hiding the evidence that incriminated the parents. He wrote a book called Maddie, The Truth of the Lie, and sold a lot of copies, but then they tried to silence him. However, he was released and there were no more problems, and the matter was left as it was. He said that precisely he wrote in his book that the couple had sedated Maddie and that the girl had died while they were having dinner. He said that the girl died that same night and that the parents hid her corpse behind a chair, and they hid the body in a nearby beach to later be able to move it somewhere else. However, nothing has been proved. The parents keep looking for the girl. They made the police open the case again to be able to find her. And the people say that they're probably not the culprits because they have spent way too much money in the search, around £11 million to look out for her. So they say that someone who killed her son or daughter wouldn't spend that kind of money. But I think that can be smoke and mirrors too, so you'll never know. I'm not that suspicious of them, but I really don't know. I don't think there's enough evidence, and the mother did look shocked when this happened, so I don't know. And well, those are the possible suspects. Something very curious that has happened with this case, and it is that there had been many Maddie sightings. Many people had seen her or had said they found her here and there, but nothing has been confirmed. There had been more than 8 million sightings all over the world. I mean, not only in Portugal, but in the whole planet. However, all had been fake until now. There was one which was very renowned from a Spanish lady that was visiting Morocco on vacation and that she saw her. She said she saw some adults, a lady and a girl, being carried by the lady, and she said that she was very similar to Maddie, that she even had the same thing in her eye and it was her, that she was short and she took a photo of them. After she reported that to the police and everything, they downloaded the picture she had taken to the laptops and they were really scared because there was really similarities between them. However, it wasn't her, it was a 3-year-old girl called Burusha Binsa. She didn't even speak English, she didn't know anything about the language, so they say, no, that's not her. Either way, she had been also seen in many countries, even here in Latin America, in Chile, Venezuela, Paraguay, but she hasn't been found. Madeleine is still missing, and I really think it could have been something related to his trafficking network, or maybe it was something her parents did. They have a lot of money, and it wouldn't be strange after all the cases I've told you about. I think most of them are related to money and the parents. This is one of the cases in which I really don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm sure he did it. No, I think there's too much information and I can't really know who was responsible for this. Besides, they haven't found the body. Nothing. I mean, she's just simply missing still. The parents appeared on a few interviews and show how the girl would look now if she were still alive. This was the picture they generated. This is usually done by the forensics people to analyze the physical evolution of a person. So that's how she would look now. So if you see Maddie, please let the police know. But very well, this is basically what happened. Okay, so this is all of the Madeleine McCann's case, which you requested a lot. It was a little long, but I really tried to tell you as much as I could. Obviously, there are many details which are very small. I tried to skip to avoid making this too long. But anyway, if you like this video, you already know, don't forget to leave a like, a thumbs up, don't forget to comment and leave suggestions about what other cases you want me to make a video about. There's many that you've requested. There's one that I think it's very interesting, which is about the Grimes sisters, and is one that basically also happened in the 50s. It's an oldie like the Black Dahlia one, but I don't know if you like to see that case. Follow me on all my social media, you know I have a billion social media accounts, and the most important thing is to subscribe to this channel. It helps me a lot to keep making videos like this one. Activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching me, don't forget to follow your dreams, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!